Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. My name is Abdul Wadu Dawan. Today we are going to read the new topic that is narration. In this lesson, we will learn how to change a sentence from direct speech into indirect speech. We will learn the rules for changing the narration, and as there are 5 types of sentences that we will discuss, but in this video we will discuss only assertive sentences along with the rules for narration. Let's move towards the next segment of this lesson. The first question that comes in the mind after reading this topic is, what is narration? Students, in English language, the act of reporting the word is called narration or reported speech. And to express speaker statement, we use the following 2 ways. And what are these 2 ways? First one is direct, and second one is indirect narration or indirect speech. What is direct speech? Direct speech is the reporting of words without making any changes. When we report the words of a speaker without making any changes, and the statement said by a speaker should be under the inverted commas, and the statement will be enclosed in inverted commas enclosed, that will be a direct speech. Or the actual words of a speaker are called direct speech. If we use the actual words of a speaker without changing those words, this will be indirect speech. We will be narrating in direct speech. And what will be indirect speech? Indirect speech is the reporting of words with making changes, and statements said by the speaker should not be under the inverted commas. Indirect speech will not be enclosed in inverted commas, and in indirect speech we don't quote the actual words of the speaker. We change the words, and by remaining the theme of the narrator as it is, we just change the statement. So in indirect narration, there are not the actual words of the speaker. So this is the basic difference between direct and indirect narration. In direct narration, we use the actual words of the speaker, and in indirect narration, we alter or we change the words of the speaker, but the message or theme of the narrator remains the same, but just we make some changes in the statement. We don't use the actual statement in indirect speech. Let's move towards the next slide. In direct speech, we use the actual words of a speaker, and in indirect speech, we don't use the actual words of a speaker. So, direct speech, the actual words of the speaker are represented as it is, and in indirect speech, we alter the words of a speaker, but the theme of or message of the narrator remains the same. So this is the basic difference between direct and indirect speech. Now we will discuss the parts of sentence that is in direct speech, as it's very important before going to discuss the rules for changing the narration. First one is called reporting speech, and second part is reported speech. These two parts combine, and a complete sentence that is in direct narration is formed. So what is reporting speech and what is called a reported speech, we will discuss one by one. The verb used to begin speaker statement is called reporting speech. For example, he says or he said to me. This is called the reporting speech. Second part is called reported speech. The repetition of the statement of the speaker is called reported speech. It is enclosed in inverted commas or in quotation marks. So reported speech is enclosed in the quotation marks, and whereas reporting speech is not enclosed in the quotation marks. Example is, he says, I am ill. First part of the sentence is reporting speech, and second part that is enclosed in the inverted commas is called reported speech. So this one will be reported speech, and this one will be reporting speech. So students, you must know the difference between reporting speech and reported speech, as all the rules are based on these rules, these two parts. So if you change a sentence from direct narration into indirect, you must know these two parts of the sentence. I hope you all or have got this point, and you know the difference between reporting speech and reported speech. This one is reporting speech, and this part will be reported speech, and these two parts combine to form a sentence that is in indirect speech. Now, when we change a sentence from direct speech to indirect speech, 5 major changes are brought about. First one is change of reporting verb. We will change the verb in the reporting speech. Second one is reported speech. Second one is to remove the inverted commas. Third one is change of pronoun. Next one is change of tenses. And the last one is change of certain words. There are certain words that we must change while changing a sentence from direct narration into indirect narration. Let's discuss these rules or points in detail. Rules are first, there are basic rules at first. Basic rules, rule number 1, that is reporting verb said to is replaced with told. In assertive sentences, the word said to that is present in the reporting speech, also known as reporting verb, is replaced with told. We will replace said to with told in assertive sentences. This is first rule. Apply the first rule on this sentence. Example is, he said, I am going to Lahore. As you can see, this will be changed. He told. Said is changed into told. So we have applied the first rule. The second rule says inverted commas are replaced with the conjunction that. We will use that and remove the inverted commas. Look at the example. He said, I am going to Lahore. These are the quotation marks or inverted commas. In indirect narration, we have used that. He told that he is going to Lahore. So we have replaced the inverted commas with conjunction that. These are the two basic rules, and these rules are must be followed while changing the sentence from direct speech into indirect speech. Let's discuss the rules. Next rules. Next one is change of pronouns. When you will change a sentence from direct narration into indirect, along with the changes that we have discussed earlier, you also have to change the pronouns. And how we will change the pronouns? Pronouns are these are basically the persons. There are 3 types of person: first person, second, and third person. How we will change this person, and when we will change, and why we change this person, we will discuss in these slides in detail. First one is first person. What are first person? First person, I, me, these are all written here. How we will change the first person? When we will change a sentence from direct into indirect sentence. The rule says first person changes according to the subject of the reporting speech. I hope you all have got the point. What is reporting speech? Reporting speech is the first part of the sentence. This is called a reporting speech. So this rule says that if there is first person in reported speech, it will change according to the subject of the reporting speech. Look at the example. She says to me. This is the first part, that is also called reporting speech. I am a good teacher. I is a first person. So first person will change according to the subject, that is she. Here you can see, she tells me that she is a good teacher. That we have added to remove the inverted commas, and she, according to the subject, we have changed the first person. So in this way, we will change the first person. You can see other example. He says, I live in Multan. Here I is a first person, that will be changed according to the subject, that is he. You can see he says that he lives in Multan. We have replaced I with he. So in this way you will change the first person from the sentence that is in direct speech while changing it into indirect speech, and the rule is first person changes according to the subject of the reporting speech. Whatever the subject of the reporting speech is, the first person will change accordingly. Let's move toward the next pronoun, change of pronoun, that is second person. The rule says that the second person changes according to the object of the reporting speech. We will look at the reporting speech and find the object, then we will change it accordingly. And what is second person? These are written here. Look at the example. She says to him, "You are not a good teacher." She says to him, and this is a second person, so this will change accordingly. She tells him that you is changed according to him, that is the object of the reporting speech, and it is changed to he is not a good teacher. Here you can see that we have changed the second person according to the object. So students, when you will change the pronoun, you will have to look at identify the pronoun. If it is first person will change according to the subject of the reporting speech, and if it's second person changes according to the object of reporting speech. Let's move toward the third person. Third person does not change. When you will change the sentence from direct narration into indirect, if there is third person will not change. What is third person? Third person, he, she, it. These are third person singular, or they. These will not be changed, and these will remain the same. So there is no change of pronoun when there is third person. Look at the example. He says to me, she is a good teacher. You have to brought about the basic changes. For example, says is told is changed into tells me, that is added to remove the inverted commas. Here is third person, so third person retains. She is written, she is at as it is, she is a good teacher. Look at another example, that is it is also third person, it also retains. And the last one, they are and they retain. So it's a rule that if there is third person in a sentence and you have to change that in a sentence into indirect speech, then no change of pronoun will take place. Let's move towards the next rules. Important rule, that is the change of verbs or tenses. When you will change the sentence from direct to indirect, you must have to change the verbs. And when you have to change the verbs, why you have to change the verbs, and where we will change the verb, we will discuss in detail. These are the basic rules. First one is, if reporting verb is in present or in future tense. I hope you all know what is reporting verb. If reporting verb is in present or future tense, then there will be no change of verb in the reported speech tense. Example, he says. If there is he will say or he says, you have to look at this part of the sentence. If in this part there is present or simple future, you need not to change the tense in the second part of the sentence. Here you can see she says that, you have added just that to remove the inverted commas. Ali is a good boy. So no change of tense took place here. In second sentence, you can see in second example, he will say, future tense. If there is present or future tense in this part of sentence, that is also called reporting verb, you need not to change the tense in the other part of the sentence. The tense of verb will remain the same. But if there is past tense, if the verb or tense in the reported speech will not change, if the verb in the reported speech represents a universal truth, or the scientific fact, then we will not change the tense or verb, or tense or verb will remain same. Look at the examples. He says the earth revolves around the sun. If there is present tense, past tense, or future tense, whatever the tense may be, but we will not change the verb in next part of the sentence. These three are the universal truths, so we will not change the verb in this part of sentence, but just we add that to remove the inverted commas, and we apply the other basic changes, but change of verb will not be applied in this case. Let's move towards the next rule. The next rule is change of verb if the reporting speech represents the past tense. If reporting verb is in past tense, then reported speech tense will change according to the following rules. So what are those rules? We have already discussed. If there is present tense and in second part of the sentence there are all the aspects of present tense, then we will not change, we will not change the verb. If there is future tense, we will not change the tense or verb in the reported speech part of the sentence. But if there is past tense, then we will change the verb. And how we will change the verb? Change of verb will take place according to the following rules. If there is simple present, that will be changed into simple past. If there is present continuous, that will be changed into past continuous. If there is present perfect, we will change it into past perfect. If there is present perfect continuous, we will change into respective past tense. If there is simple past, we will change into this into past perfect. If there is past continuous, we will change into past perfect continuous, and past perfect continuous tenses or verbs are not changed. This was the rule for the change of verb if there is past tense. So if we summarize the change of verb, then we can say that if in first part of the sentence there is present or future tense, then we need not to change the verb or tense in the second part of the sentence. If there is past tense in the first part of the sentence, then we need to change the verb and we apply all the changes. So it's very simple. We have to look at the sentence. If a sentence represents present tense, or in this case, or the future tense, then we will apply all the basic changes except the change of verb or tense. If there is past tense, then we must apply all the basic 5 rules that we have discussed in this video. Let's move towards the next slide, that is other changes. And what are other changes? If in the first part of the sentence or indirect sentence there are these words, then we will change these word. And how these word will be changed? If there is now, it will be changed into then. Ago will be changed into before. Today will be changed into that day. And tonight will be changed into that night. Yesterday into the previous day. Next month will be changed into the following month. Here will be changed into there. This into that. These into those. Tomorrow into the next day. Last night, the previous night. Thus into so. These are the basic changes. If these words are present in a sentence that we have to convert into indirect speech, then we must change these words according to the rules discussed. Let's move towards the examples. As we have discussed all the 5 rules, we will solve these sentences by keeping in mind those rules. We will apply those rules one by one and solve the sentences. As I have discussed earlier that in this video we will only discuss in detail the assertive sentences. Before going to solve these sentences, you must know what is assertive sentence. Students, assertive sentences are basically the sentences which state or declare something. Which state or declare something. These are called assertive sentences and they end with a full stop. There are two assertive sentences can be affirmative, positive, or negative. And what are positive and negative? You know better. So now you all know what are assertive sentences. Let's move towards the uh, conversion of assertive sentences from direct speech into indirect speech. First example is, he said to me, I am writing a letter. What you have to do is, we have to apply all the 5 rules. First step which you will do with all the sentences is to look at the first part of the sentence, that is also called reporting speech. If the verb is in present or future tense, then in the next part you will apply the basic changes except the change of verb. If the verb is in past tense, as in this case the verb is in past tense, so we must apply all the 5 changes that we have studied earlier. We will apply the first one, that is removal of inverted commas and replacing these inverted commas with conjunction that. Then we will change the pronoun, change of tense, and other changes if there are. We apply all the changes. Means if there is past tense, then we apply all the 5 basic changes while converting this sentence into indirect speech. If there is present or simple, then we just apply the basic changes and no change of verb will take place. Here in this case, he said to me, said to is changed into told. He told me. Inverted commas are removed and the conjunction that is added, that first person I. First person changes according to the subject. So I is converted into he am. I am writing. This is present continuous tense, as we discussed in the previous table. Present continuous will be changed into past continuous because there is, in the first part of the sentence, there is past tense. So present continuous will be changed into past continuous. He was writing for me, and this will be the final form of indirect. Second example, he said, I did not take tea. What you have to do is look at the first part. He said it is in past tense, so we have to apply all the 5 changes. He said is changed into told. Put that instead of inverted commas. I, first person, changes according to the subject, as we have discussed in detail earlier. Did not take tea, that is past indefinite tense, that will be changed into past perfect, had not taken tea. So in this way you can change the sentence from direct speech into indirect speech. Here are further example. She said to me, I was ill. First step is to look at this part of the sentence. She said to me, it's in past tense, so apply all the 5 changes. First one is said to is changed into told. She told me, that is added to remove the inverted commas. I, first person, changes according to the subject, so we will change it accordingly. And she is added. Was ill, past, simple past, that will be changed into past perfect according to the rule. So we have applied all the 5 rules. First one is said to is changed into told. Then second one is you have to add that to remove the inverted commas. Third one is change of pronoun. Fourth one is change of tense, change of verb. We have to apply all these changes. Second example is also in past tense, so all the 5 changes you will apply. Third also past. Fourth, these are all in past tense, so what you have to do is to apply the rules, all the rules on these sentences while solving. At the end of this lecture, there is an assignment for you. What you have to do is to solve these sentences and convert these sentences into indirect speech. These are all in past tense, as you can see in first part of the sentence. What you have to do is to solve these sentences and apply all the 5 basic changes that we have studied, or rules that we studied earlier. In first step, you will look at the first part of sentence, that is reporting speech. Then if it is in past tense, then you will to solve this in your notebooks. Here are further examples for you for more practice I hope all of you have understood this basic concept, and you must practice these sentences in order to be an expert in solving these sentences. If you have any queries or questions regarding this topic, you can write here below this video, or you can send in WhatsApp group. Your queries will be solved by the respective teachers. Thank you so much.